Live from Capitol Hill in our nation's capital. It is Thursday, the 2nd of April, the year of our Lord 2020. Welcome to War Room Pandemic, episode 93, with over now 5 million downloads. Live on the John Fredericks Radio Network, on americasvoice.news, the streaming platform for the Trump movement. That is Dish 219 on Newsmax TV, FM 99.1 and 103.9 in Chicago. I want to welcome everybody in Chicago and Chicagoland to the show as the storm approaches Chicago. Jack Maxey, Jason Miller, Raheem Kassam. The storm is coming, and today we had the unemployment numbers, 6.6 million. Now that is twice what people were forecasting. I think Wall Street at the upper end of the range, people were talking about 3.4 to 4 million, maybe 6.6. That's a million folks a day applying for, and that's a trailing number. Remember, that's really what happened last week. It does not include this week. You aggregate it up, it's over 10 million people have applied for unemployment already. And I think this reinforces, gentlemen, that we don't have, in going through how you have to go through fast and you go through hard, the time where we are burning daylight. Every day that we don't smash this thing, that we're not taking maximum, what they said in the Army Air Corps in World War II, if you've seen my favorite film, 12 O'Clock High, maximum effort. Maximum effort. What did maximum effort mean? Every plane up, every crew up, every bomb hit over a target, the industrial might of Germany destroyed. Maximum effort, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Maximum effort. And these numbers should be the general quarters light should be on. This is, this talk about, hey, we're going to go through Memorial Day and we've got to get 30 days. It's got to be a hard 30. And we got to get people back to work. This is, and all this talk now about a phase 4 and a $2 trillion infrastructure plan, that's just not reality right now. It's just not reality. Mitch McConnell is telling you not reality. And look, I'm not, Mitch McConnell and I are about as far apart politically as possible, but that's a reality check. That, you saw Schumer, it's got the Green New Deal and all that. Those are all political issues. We're not in a political situation right now. We're in a save the country situation. Whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, whether you're an evangelical Christian or an atheist, it doesn't matter, right? This is about saving the United States of America from a pandemic. The economic crisis, the financial crisis, and this financial crisis, I'm telling you, it's brewing. You're having now all these, you're having all these credits being looked at. You're going to have a whole thing of debt. This companies collapse because of debt. We've got to get our handles around this, and the first thing you've got to do is break the back of this virus. You have to do it as fast as possible and as hard as possible to make sure it doesn't come back. So we're going to get into that. Let's go. I want to play some clips to tell you. By the way, we have Eric Bolling is going to be on the show. The president tweeted out today his plan 2020 again, or retweeted Eric Bolling. And Eric is a Wall Street guy. Forget everything you know about him on the media and everything you know about him on Fox. He's a guy that's been in the trading pit. He and Cortez's plan is dramatic, and this is about one simple thing: infusing cash into the system. Not just for people that are taking the unemployment, but for the people that are still hanging on there and working. We've got to get cash to the little guy. We've got to get cash to the little company. And to me, phase 4 should be focused primarily on that. Larger discussions and debates on infrastructure and that, which are all well and good. I'm not saying not to do it. Those are months. That's going to be months in the architecture of it, and months in the approval of it, and months in the voting of it, and all that. We need something. You can tell already. This is 10 million people unemployed. There's going to be another 3, 5 million, maybe more this week. You're going to be at 15 million people pretty quickly, right? So these are Great Depression type numbers. My point: this can all be rejuvenated. You got to go hard in, and then try to get a steep curve on the outside. I don't want to hog the conversation. So this is another partners discussion here today, folks. No, seriously, this is what this show's about. This show's about understanding the pandemic part, understanding the economic crisis part, understanding the financial capital markets part, and also the geopolitical. Our allies, the Saudis, right? Where they've destroyed, and they knew what they were doing. They destroyed the American fracking industry. The really what made us energy dominant and energy exporter. They purposely did that. We can't hide from that. And I wouldn't be asking questions nicely about these guys. I'd be telling them what to do. We defend these guys. If it's not for the United States, there's no kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Let's be brutally frank. They brutalized. If you're out there in the fracking industry and unemployed, right, this is not about this drop in aggregate demand. That's bad enough. This is the Saudis and the Russians specifically targeted the United States oil industry. Okay? Now, we don't know if the Chinese made this as a bomb, a biological weapon. We don't know if it leaked out as a vaccine. We don't know that. That's all going to be explored and adjudicated over the months and weeks ahead. We do know that they suppressed the information that allows this thing to metastasize on their Chernobyl. But we know for a fact that the Saudis went after this. It's the convergence of all these factors. We got to stop the happy talk and start to drop the hammer, whether the hammer's on the Saudis, whether the hammer's on the virus, whether the hammer's on the CCP. It's time to drop the hammer. We're the United States of America. We're not some, we're not used to being pushed around, and we're getting pushed around right now. And it's going to have decades to get out of this if we continue to be pushed around.
Literally, this is going to be a generation-long recovery if we have something to recover. And normally I come on, I'm analytical, I try to break things down and take people inside the room. But this morning, I'm just pissed off. I'm pissed off that our people are sleepwalking. Idiots just sleepwalking. You turn on TV and you see these bumbling idiots who don't know anything about science or the economy trying to muddle along and hear these small little details. But here's the reality. We have a service-based economy. And right now, with everyone in shelter in place or in lockdown, or at least most states are, we're not spending any money. And so until we go and defeat the virus, and this is why we've been calling for 30 days to save America and much more stricter measures than we had, then we're never going to get our economy going again. People, there's nothing that Congress can do. There's no amount of printing money. There's no magic wand that President Trump can wave about the economy to go and fix things. The concept of a stimulus is silly. There is no stimulus. We had 6.6 million people file for unemployment last week because no one is going out and spending any money. We have to defeat this menace now. And so in smashing the curve where we have this 30 days in place, it can't just be the extension of the 15 days. We need a national shelter in place. We need face masks in public. We need to stop all international passenger flights, close borders to non-trade traffic. We need to stop non-essential domestic passenger, air, rail, vehicle travel. Quarantine New York City. Urge doctors to embrace this FDA ruling, allowing
massively embrace it and flood the zone with
hydroxychloroquine.
Flood the zone with it.
We have to take these additional measures.
Mass testing. Get in front of the antibodies. Jackson talked about this. Every tool in the tool shed has got to be used and used today. This is general quarters.
Everything.
We can't be passively wandering through this.
And one of our listeners really got it. I tweeted something along those lines out this morning with the 30 days to save America. Someone replied back and said, we don't have 30 days.
This is, by the way, listeners that are and viewers that are on watch. Exactly right. I don't know if we got 30 days. Every day is game day. Every day is game day. What'd they tell the Army Air Corps in 1942? Maximum effort, right? Remember in the scene in 12 O'Clock High, he says, hey, the problem here is you guys all think you're going home. You're not going home. You're all dead. Maximum effort. I want every plane up. I want every crew up. I want every bomb over a target. If you fly back, you're going to get court-martialed. That's what we need today. We need maximum effort. And here's the three things we need effort on. We need maximum effort against this virus. Maximum effort. We need maximum efforts against the Saudis and the Russians. They are not our friends. They are not good guys. They have screwed the American working man. They have gone after strategically to destroy our oil industry, which is one of the centerpieces of the Trump economic program, the full spectrum energy dominance. And the Chinese Communist Party is the enemy of the Chinese people and of mankind, including the United States of America. And they have proven that. Time again, they got a whole thing today. They're on the Global Times, their propaganda arm, the New York Post of which is it's a tabloid that's their propaganda arm, has got one of the foreign ministers that goes through an entire timeline that's basically a timeline of lies about how it's really the United States' fault that this happened.
I'd like to go back, if I could, to the oil issue because I think it's fundamental what we're looking at. I think one of the things that we've lost in this whole thing is the risk-benefit analysis of everything that we're doing. And I don't mean to put price on lives, but there are many lives that are going to be destroyed because this economy is being destroyed by design. If we go to the oil issue, there is a very simple way to solve the price of oil on planet Earth, and that is to pull our troops back from the sandbox and stop patrolling the Gulf of Hormuz. Let's let the communist Chinese play policemen in that area, and they will end up in the same hole that we have been in. We pull those guys out of there, guess what? The oil that comes out of there goes to China. We don't need to support. It's the best way we could support our oil patch, in my opinion.
Okay, good.
Well, it depends.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I like having various. We don't have the answers. We don't have the answers.
I'm about to give you one.
Okay, good. Hashtag, but I know where the answers come from. Hashtag war and pandemic. It comes from the working class people in this country, the deplorables. You guys have the answers. We provide the news. You provide the opinion. What do you got?
I think it depends which way we go with this. Do you want the United States to be a superpower at the end of this thing or not? Are you going to let this be your Suez moment or not?
Tell people what Suez moment means. You brought it a couple of times. It's very important.
This is have I? I'm very shy about Suez. I don't like talking about Suez. It hurts my heart. This was the moment in the British Empire's history where their so-called dependents, and allies, and friends basically all left them high and dry. This was the Suez Canal, one of the most, if not the most important trade route at the time, as far as establishing Britain's presence as a power in the region, in Egypt, was concerned. And the Egyptians decided, well, you know what? Everybody's coming out of the British Empire now anyway. Britain's kind of on the back foot. They're war weary. They don't want to have to deal with this stuff again. And they took advantage, took it over, nationalized it, and said, you guys are done. Pat on the back. Thank you very much, sir. Off you go. And Britain's response was critical here. The Americans didn't help us. They didn't want to help us. It was in their interest to not help us. And we kind of left it, washed our hands of it, and said, you know what? Actually, we can't be getting into another conflict over this thing. Let's try and manage this thing out.
Let's manage decline.
And it's the theory of managed decline that I would say you must avoid here.
The theory of managed decline is why President Trump is president of the United States. The elites in this country managing the decline of our country. You want to see the decline? The decline is the United States is a supplicant to all these supplies. You want to see the decline? It's a supplicant. We're begging. We got a tin cup out. We'll pay top price, right? Because we can't do it ourselves. To get the masks, to get the pharmaceuticals, get it all. That's the United States. This is what managed decline by our elites has led us to.
We have to kiss China's ass just to get masks flown in, to get the basic pharmaceuticals that we need. I mean, guys, look at where we are. There's a great article this morning in Politico talking about the future of 5G. Well, guess where the future of 5G is right now? It's not right here.
Huawei. Okay. Hashtag war and pandemic. We're a little fired up today. Jack made a fantastic batch of Navy brew. Right there, I've got two mason. It's a 2 mason jar day. So
Three pens and
two mason jars. Okay. Hashtag war room pandemic. Also at War Room Pandemic, at War Room 2020. Go to hashtag 30 Days to Save America. We want you to go to the site. We're going to have more stuff up on the site. We got amazing graphics. We're going to talk about. We got Eric Bolling. He's fired up. Eric Bolling's going to talk about his plan 2020. To get some cash into your pocket. We're going to return in just a moment with the War Room Pandemic live from Fort Defiance on the highly infected Capitol Hill. Be back in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room Pandemic. You're at Fort Defiance. This is episode 93. I was momentarily distracted by Eric Bolling, who's going in a second, blowing my phone up. Okay, we got Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller, Stephen K. Bannon, and Jack Maxey doing cost-benefit analysis over there. Jack and David Ramaswamy are beavering away in the analytics department of the War Room. We're ubiquitous. We're live everywhere. You get up on Facebook, YouTube, all of our distribution platforms, and the podcast later. in the day. If you need a truncated version of that, we're going to have Eric Bolling and Dave Bahnsen on. Dave runs a $2 billion hedge fund. Is going to give you Wall Street's concept or ideas about what happened today. Eric Bolling will be calling it his plan 2020, which the president retweeted today. This is Eric's plan about how to get cash into the system. I want to go back to Dr. Birx, to the thing of full mitigation, because to me, this is the tell about what underlines these numbers, right? And we've got to embrace what full mitigation is. So if we have that clip, can we play
Yeah,
it?
I'm going to play Dr. Birx. And just to remind folks, we played this clip from University of Washington professor Chris Murray a couple times now from his interview with Anderson Cooper and Sanjay Gupta on Monday. All of their projections, everything they've done, have these strict social distancing measures being in place through the month of May. When President Trump came out and gave that press conference on Sunday, and he said that he hopes by the time we get to June, folks realize we're going to need April and May to smash this thing. Here's Dr. Birx from yesterday.
Simultaneously, there was a modeler out of the University of Washington that modeled from cases up, utilizing the experience around the globe to really understand how this information that we have from Italy and Spain and South Korea and China could really help us give insight into the hospital needs, the ventilator needs, and really the number of people who potentially could succumb to this illness. It is this model that we are looking at now that provides us the most detail of the time course that is possible. But this model assumes full mitigation.
That's the key. The assumption here, remember, these models are only as good enough as the assumptions. If you're assuming full mitigation, and these are the numbers you have, and now they're telling us, we'll get to Pence in a moment. We got Eric Bowen's going to join us. You got to understand what full mitigation means, and you got to do it, okay? This unemployment number today, which is twice what Wall Street thought, shows that there's 1 million folks a day applying for unemployment, right? Now, part of that may be the benefit package is quite strong, the 4-month benefit package, but this also shows you the difficulty these companies are having staying around and the uncertainty they think about coming back. That's the problem. Let's get Eric. Eric is the host of America This Week on Sinclair Broadcasting, and people know him from his days at Fox, but what people don't realize, this guy's been in the trading pits for 20 years betting his own capital. He is as savvy as an investor and understands microeconomics and macroeconomics of the American economy. Eric, thank you for joining us on War and Pandemic.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me again. Ward's getting, we saw a massive unemployment number, 20 times larger than the largest unemployment number in history. And what that's telling us is that this is bigger than some of the plans that are being floated right now. As you know, I've had a plan into the president for 5 weeks. 2.5 weeks ago, I delivered it to him personally over the phone. He called. Some of the other top economic advisors were in the room. We had a discussion. They loved it. I'm watching the economy melt down, Steve, because all the things that they're doing right now, none of them attack the one problem right now. We have a cocooning American consumer. Consumer demand is shot. It's over. It's done right now. No one outside of toilet paper and Purell. That's the only thing people are interested in buying. We need to spark it, and the only way to keep a floor in the economy is through the consumer. 70% of this economy, like it or not, is driven by the consumer, and if that consumer dries up, the economy dries up. I think finally they're realizing no matter how many trillions they spend throwing at tax breaks or $1,200 checks that are going to go into either savings or paying down debt or worse, that won't work. What we need to do is this Plan 2020. And Steve, it's a debit card that's got $2,300 on it for every American household. And you must, here's the key. Use it or lose it. So $2,300 in a 30-day period, you got to inject it right back into the economy, or you don't get it. Everyone will spend it. It'll be jet fuel to the economy. The potency of using it or losing it will just add to that, and that will put the floor in the economy. It'll remind people that it's okay to spend and life's going to be okay. And it will cost far less, $250 billion a pop. Do it 6 times. It's $1.5 trillion. They've already done $4 trillion. It's not working.
Go back to I love the granularity of your plan. Walk us, triage it through. When you say $2,300, you've actually got it broken down into where it goes or where the economy is going to need. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. So my plan, and the bean counters in D.C. or whatever they want to do may want to tweak it. But look, we have industries that are on the ropes: airlines, restaurants, bars. I do the show from a vacant bar every week, and there's 15 million workers in bars that are out of work right now. So $1,000 of the 2,300 per month each time they up this card, $1,000 goes to food, whether it's a grocery store or a restaurant or a bar. $1,000 goes to health related. In other words, it can be medical supplies. You can go to CVS. You can go to Walgreens. You can go to Walmart and buy some. Remember, we're not trying to make it difficult to spend. We're trying to make it easy to spend, but spent in the right areas. And then $300 towards any sort of transportation, whether it's fuel, gas, an airline ticket, your electric bill, anything fuel related. So you have $2,300 per household per round that they approve, and it injects not only the spending, which will prop up the economy, but it ends up in the industries that they're talking about bailing out anyway. This has such twofold use, and here's the beauty of it: 100% of it, Steve, 100% of the dollars and pennies that they spend go through the economy and end up in the right place. The stuff they're doing, it could end up in stock. I know he doesn't want to talk about stock buybacks, but there's a whole host of ways that a company can spend the money without actually having ever get to the workers. This goes from the bottom straight up the economy. It's the most populist answer possible.
No, here's what I like about it. You made a great comment, and Cortez has got another part of a plan that I'll get to in a moment, or in the next segment. Yours is what I call a forcing function. It's a forcing function. It forces it back into the system. You made the great comment the first time you had you on. Hey, some of this money that people are getting, they may go pay off student debt. They may pay off back rent. They may pay off a credit card. They may pay off something history. This is a problem, as they teach at Harvard Business School, of today forward. Everything else is sunk costs. That's called incrementalism. This is the mindset we've fallen into. Everything we're doing is incrementalism because it takes into the past. The past doesn't matter here for right now. This is a crisis. We have to get across this chasm. We have to have a bridging function to get across the chasm. You got to destroy the virus. At the same time, you provide a bridge. Eric Bolling's part is not the total solution, but it's a forcing function to force cash back into the system. And it's 250.
I will add this, if I may, real quickly, Steve.
Sure.
For the first time in 5 weeks since they've had this plan, I'm getting calls from inside the White House. I'm getting calls from inside the Treasury. I'm getting calls from around. Wall Street Journal calling me. They're all calling me like, okay, he retweeted it. The president retweeted the plan this morning. And now it's like catching fire. You know why? Because it's the one that will work. If you send someone a $1,200 check and say, hey, here's your check, here's your stimulus check, maybe if you're lucky, you get 10% of that, like 100 or 120 bucks of that goes back into the economy, if you're lucky. This is 100% of what we send households. All $2,300, every penny of it gets forced right back into the economy via use it or lose it, with earmarks on it. It's a debit card. It's the only thing that's going to work. And it's unique, Steve. No one's tried this before.
Eric,
that's what we need in times like this.
Eric Rahim Kassam, I'm a big fan of the plan, a big fan from when I saw it. I wanted to ask you the question. In the conversations, if you don't mind telling us, in the conversations that you're now having, are there any concerns? What are the pitfalls that people might see? I'm interested in sort of working this out. I'm watching the audience reaction live on #WarAndPandemic. People are asking for more and more detail. Can you tell us a little bit more about maybe conversations you've had about fine-tuning of this?
Yeah, so fine-tuning will be up to them. I think every single human being I've told this to Kudlow. Right now, it's on its way into Mnuchin's desk right as we speak right now. In fact, I was just on the phone. It was a PDF form going into Mnuchin. Trump has it. I spoke to him on the phone. Other senior advisors, everyone that hears it loves it. It's different. It's something no one's really thought about before. It's one of those things hiding in plain sight, Raheem, honestly. So I will tell you the pushback that I've gotten on Twitter are from hardcore libertarians who say you can't have government propping up the economy. I am one of those people. I'm libertarian, but this is unique times. This is World War III for us. We need to employ things that we've never done before. By the way, it is a form of socialism. Yes, let's be honest. Let's admit it. But it's temporary socialism because it expires, and the president dictates when it goes away for good. It's temporary socialism to save capitalism. If we don't do this, we're done. The economy's done. It's shot. Gonzo.
Eric, how do people get more access to you? We want the hashtag, your website. America's This Week is a fabulous show. It's on fire, as the president would say. How do people get more access to you?
Yeah, at Eric Bolling on Twitter, BOLLING, or ericbolling.com. Either way is fine. But let's get this out there, guys. Let's get. They're hearing it. They're finally hearing it.
Eric, this is Jason Miller. Listener question for you. For those who are 55 and under, we're not talking about folks who are immediately going to retire or people who are currently in retirement. After what we're going through right now, is it feasible that there will be a Social Security for anyone 55 or 50 and under going forward?
Well, there won't be if the economy falls apart, because no one's going to be working to finance Social Security going forward. I mean, that is a concern. It's broke already. Look, here's what we need to do right now. We have an economy that is having an acute heart attack right now. Let's not worry about treating it with long term.
We can't.
They may have melanoma.
We can't cure for cancer.
Mole on its body.
Eric, we got a hard stop, brother. Thank you. We're pushing this hard, as you know, from day one. Be back in a moment.
Hey, you have. Absolutely, Bannon. Thank you.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Episode 93, and we're already on fire here at Fort Defiance. By the way, we just heard that Capitol Hill, our district, is the most infected district in Washington, D.C., a fairly infected city. So we'll have to. We're keeping social separation. That means from now on, Raheem's going to actually do the show from out front. No,
my new mask. Look, come on. What do you think I've been buying these?
You're
for
dangerous
years
enough.
for?
Dangerous enough, not masked. I want to get, and we're going to produce live here. I wanted to clip a bowling polled. If the guys in Denver could do it, or Raheem, pull it now. I want to get that up. That's going to be big. We were the first guys to come in and back Eric, and here's the reason. People think bowling's just what is it, Dinner at 5? What's the show? The 5 on well, no, but here's the reason.
Early bird special.
Is that even Boomer? No, that's like Greatest Generation. That's
Dinner at 8. Dinner at 8 is 1930s. No, but I'm going to tell you some inside baseball. When Roger Ailes made that was when Glenn Beck left, and they rotated some guys, and they didn't want the pressure on any one person. He conceived it as like a dinner party, like a sophisticated dinner party in New York City. You would have amazingly interesting chat, and people remember Eric from that and his other shows. But what they don't know is he's actually a very smart Wall Street guy in the pits. We've got another one now. David Bahnsen of the Bahnsen Group manages over a $2 billion hedge fund. David, we've had you on the show before, oftentimes talking about Elizabeth Warren and your analysis of her socialist project. But today I want to ask you about the unemployment number. Where do you think the economy is going? Has this caught Wall Street by surprise? And what's your assessment of where we are and what we're doing to get out of this?
Steve, am I the only one who feels like it was 10 years ago that we still cared about Elizabeth Warren? I mean, can you believe how much has happened in that last month since her candidacy blew up? It's unbelievable.
Well, when you say that, though, aren't we implementing? I mean, on the libertarian side, my brother and Jack Maxey would say, "Hey, we're actually implementing Elizabeth Warren's plan, aren't we?"
Well, we're certainly implementing a lot of John Maynard Keynes's plan. I think that this has a sort of Mnuchin fingerprint mixed with obviously the Pelosi elements and things that the left would like. It's obviously a pretty mixed bag. But, the unemployment number, I don't want to be a glasses half full guy. I just want to be realistic. The number's brutal. It's horrific. And yet it's really important to point out one of the causes of the number last week that was lower than expected. Wall Street thought last week was going to be 7 million. It ended up being 3 million. They thought this week was going to be 3 million. It ended up being 6 to 6.5 million. What's the difference? I think last week there were too few people making claims in anticipation of the stimulus bill as Pelosi was dinging around with things all week. And then this week, you had too many people make claims because the employers don't understand the bill and they're telling their employees, go get unemployment. We need 2 weeks to figure this out.
Okay, hold on. Hang on right there. Stop. Hang on right there. What do you mean? Because it's all about the micro now. That's what we're trying to help on the show is how do you get money. What do you mean the employers don't understand the bill and they're telling their guys, because this is what we said was going to happen. and we've been trying to explain it every day. What do you mean that they don't understand the bill, and what don't they understand about it in your mind?
Okay, well, I am not trying to claim to be the smartest person in the world, but I'm a financier for a living, dealing with some of the best accountants, lawyers, and money guys in the world, and it took us 4 days to unpack it. Treasury just released the specifications yesterday. The bill passed on Friday. They can't even start applying for the Paycheck Protection loans until Friday. The SBA banks are going to be backlogged like we've never seen a backlog in history. So there's some complexity and some time bureaucracy involved. I do think that will get sorted through, but if you own a bar, a coffee shop, a restaurant, the line we're using is people who wear a uniform to work. If you employ people who wear a uniform, you're going to go get unemployment, and we'll have this sorted in a couple of weeks. I don't think everyone's doing that, but I certainly think it justified the extra 3 million of unemployment claims this week.
So what do you think? What would your recommendation? We had Eric Bolling on. He's got this plan about a debit card or an EBIT card that gives people so much X amount of money to immediately infuse cash into the system that has to be spent every 30 days. What would be your observation of where we are, and what do you think needs to happen next?
The debit card idea, I have not talked to Secretary Mnuchin about directly, but I have talked to Larry Kudlow at NAC about directly. And my understanding is that Mnuchin's feel, after talking to key people, including some of the banks and talking to the Fed, was that the debit card was not logistically feasible, and that using the bank accounts on record of Social Security and tax returns was a quicker infusion of cash to low-income people. So mechanically, I think that is the way they're going to go. I think that money is going to get out quickly, and I think there's going to be fraud and shenanigans. But I do believe that a fair amount of cash, certainly quicker than we've ever seen, will happen. Will it be enough to stop this bleeding? Time will tell.
Just generally, how do you think Wall Street's going to respond to these numbers? Because obviously, it looks like $1 million a day, 1 million jobs a day are being shredded. What do you think Wall Street's response is going to be?
Well, the stock market's up 500 points right now, but there's a lot of mixed messaging going on. Steve, this is important for listeners because you have a very smart audience. Wall Street is not looking at the same things the media headlines on CNBC are talking about. They're looking under the hood. Trump pulling off a deal with MBS and Saudi. The Fed deciding to backstop non-agency CMBS, which is commercial mortgage-backed loans. The guys like Carl Icahn and George Soros have taken a huge short against. Those guys are going to get their faces ripped off if the Fed ends up backing CMBS. Wall Street cares about that because the retail Main Street damage is a bloodbath, and it isn't that Wall Street doesn't care, okay? I'm just saying it's already priced in. So at this point, Wall Street's looking under the hood.
David, you're one of the smartest guys around. That's why we love having you on. I want to go back over this and unpack it for a second. We were doing a beatdown on the Saudis at the opening of this and thought it hadn't gotten enough attention since we're eviscerating the fracking industry, which has given America full-spectrum energy dominance and has created hundreds of thousands of high-paying blue-collar jobs in West Texas, in Pennsylvania, and in the Northern Plains up in North Dakota and other places. What do you mean that you think the president's working out a deal with MBS, who's the crown prince of Saudi Arabia and really the titular head of the country?
I've been watching very closely some of the subtle messaging coming out of the White House, and for Trump to bring the CEOs of Exxon and Chevron, not to mention our friend Harold Hamm out of Continental, who's advocating a big import tariff on Saudi oil, for Pompeo yesterday to be reminding Yemen on Twitter of their support for Saudi and troops at the Gulf, to me is an incredibly subtle message saying, hey, Saudi, we will pull those people out of the Gulf in a minute, and then 1 week later you people can walk to work. Okay, so I think that they have reminded Saudi that we have been their protective shield for 60 years. And with Putin, they're buying all kinds of medical supplies from Russia that do not need to be bought from Russia. Putin did what he does best. He shook us down. He got a deal. And he doesn't want $20 oil any more than the fracking industry does. So I think that Trump and Pompeo have been working behind the scenes, and ultimately MBS and Saudi are going to be the losers. They bluffed, and their bluff got called.
So President Trump just tweeted out, just spoke to my friend MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who spoke with President Putin of Russia, and I expect and hope that they will be cutting back approximately 10 million barrels and maybe substantially more, which, if it happens, will be great for the oil and gas industry. Your thoughts?
Yes, and so that tweet came on right before I came onto the show, and I think that this is sort of the behind-the-scenes stuff that they've been working. Now, of course, it's important that Trump not be bluffing. You don't want a reversal if they call his bluff, but a reduction of 10 million barrels, that's a game changer. It will save a lot of big oil companies. The C-rated credits, which is basically the junkier credits, as you know, Steve, in oil and gas, they can't live even with $30, $35 oil. Chevron and Exxon can. So they got to get 40 oil.
But, David, this is the point I want to get to. The only thing that matters for the deplorables, the only thing that matters for the Trump movement, and quite frankly, the only thing that matters for the Bernie Sanders and that movement, working class people in this country, is oil that's $40 a barrel. Because at $40 a barrel, the fracking industry survives, and above that prospers. Anything below that, it's fine for the seven sisters or what's left of them, right? The guys that have the balance sheet to get through this. But if you don't have the balance sheet to get through this, you're not going to get through it. All those marginal producers are going to shut down. So how do we? 10 million barrels is fine as a starter, but how do we? The Saudis, look, they're to pay their overhead is $80 a barrel, but they're prepared to take the pain and go forever to destroy the American fracking. And this is about this is not about the major integrated oil companies. This is about the fracking. If you're in West Texas and listen to this, if you're in Central Pennsylvania, up the Marcellus Shale, if you're in the Northern Plains and listen to this, you're a truck driver. Anybody associated with this, you got to get this is very important. Jump in here, Jack.
No, I was just going to say, if Saudi's going to drop it by 10 billion barrels or 10 million barrels a day, they're producing right now 12. But analysts are saying that
I think it was a combo. They in Russia,
right? But analysts are saying that 30 million barrels per day is a reduction in the global demand because of the collapse of the economy. So even if they drop it by 10, we still have a 20 million barrel per day extra. And now you've got our own refiners in Texas. It is costing them more to make gasoline than they're getting from selling it because of the market.
We don't have time to solve this today. We'll get.
Steve, I think it's important. I think it's important. My goal in life is to never get called a corporatist by Steve Bannon, but I will say this. You're going to save a lot of fracking jobs if the Exxons and Chevrons are able to pick up some of the over-levered players. There's mid-level players that the deplorables care about, mid-level guys that would need $40 oil to stay alive. There's some weak people that are dead anyways, and the Exxons and Chevrons will save those jobs. But it's the mid-level that I'm more worried about. The weaker credits are goners. But I think that on that 10 million versus 30 million demand point, the economists are wrong. There is not a need for 30 million reduction as demand wanes when you look 6 months out. This is stuff that trades in futures, okay? We're not talking about 30 days. We're talking about 90, 180 days. Ultimately, demand has never weakened as much as economists have predicted it would, ever. I think demand comes back strong when we get on the other side of COVID. When that is, of course, nobody knows.
In 30 seconds, do you think what's your assessment of how we as a nation are trying to get through over this chasm, the actions we're taking? What's your assessment?
The downside is that on the other side of this, whether it's 6 months or a year, we're going to be the United States of the Federal Reserve, okay? The Fed is no longer acting in the market. The Fed is the market. We are Japanifying our economy, and that is irreversible at this point, and I'll have plenty to say on that in the months ahead. As far as what Trump and Pence and the medical side are doing, I'm paying no attention to the haters that want to go politicize this day by day. All they can do is continue to work on mitigation and treat it seriously and get us on the other side. The American people will not tolerate being shut down for long. We will reopen for business when the time is right, and I have nothing politically critical to say of them whatsoever.
In 30 seconds, tell us about this commercial, the short on commercial space, because this is going to talk about rejuvenating the economy. What's the situation? What's the problem?
Well, you have Carl Icahn being given a free microphone to go on CNBC and tell the world what he's doing, that he sees all of these strip malls and retail centers that are struggling, and he is shorting the underlying debt of those. and he does it brilliantly. You can't go on CNBC and tout a stock you hold. That has to be disclosed and so forth. But when it's something complicated, like you're shorting credit default swaps like Ackman, or you're shorting CMBS like Icon, you can get away with it. And Soros has a huge short on CMBS as well. And so basically they're betting against America reopening for business.
David, we got to
cover their short.
We got to jump. Fantastic. We're going to be back with War and Pandemic in a second.
Yep.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War and Pandemic. We're on Capitol Hill. We're live from Fort Defiance in a rowdy first hour. Second hour, we're going to have Rear Admiral Jackson, Ronnie Jackson, who's the former Chief Medical Officer for the President of the United States, now running for Congress down in Texas. We're going to find out exactly what's going down in Texas. I think he's in Amarillo, so near the near the Permian Basin and what's happening down there. Going to find out the huge issue dealing with the American oil and gas industry. We're not going to get this economy back running until we got a vibrant, robust oil and gas industry. Now, with over 5 million downloads in all of our distribution platforms, I want to welcome you. Let's go. I want to go around since we've had Bolling, and Bolling's plan is clearly the president's retweeting it. So that's why people's heads are blowing up over the Treasury Department right now. We said, and we're proud to be always ahead of the curve. We were on Bolling's program. We were on Bolling's idea, Plan 2020, the first day he put it out. And here's the reason. I don't know if it's the ultimate solution, but what you need in this economy right now called forcing functions. These are things when you look at complex systems, these are parts of the system that forces certain actions. Those actions have outcomes. Right now, we're getting bad outcomes, okay? Let's be brutally frank. These are unanticipated bad outcomes. I do disagree with Brother Bahnsen to a degree. I don't remember. I never heard, and I know some pretty sophisticated hedge fund guys, I never heard the word 7 million on unemployment about last week ever come out. In fact, I think people were pretty surprised they were talking 5 million, but never heard 7. But we've got essentially 10 million unemployed, lined up for unemployment in the last 2 weeks, and that does not include this week. Yes, sir.
No, just have a question. If that's not true, if they hadn't priced this in, then why is the market where it is right now? It's up 400 right now.
Well, no, because I think what they're seeing is I think they realize that this is going to cause people to really get focused and figure out what has to happen on aggregate demand. This is why he brought up Keynes instead of socialism. We have a Keynesian problem right now about aggregate demand. That was what Keynes was focused on the deflationary aspects. He wrote this amazing analysis, and I realized the Austrian School of Economics guys over at Heritage, their heads are blowing up right now in Cato, called the economic consequences of the war, or the economic consequences of the peace, where he took the Versailles Treaty and kind of analyzed it. One thing he came up with was potential deflation and the loss of aggregate demand. At the same time, you had massive, you eventually had massive, in certain areas, hyperinflation in Germany and other places in the 1920s.
And also remember, though, Steve, that same period of time, I think our listeners should understand, it wasn't just an economic problem that was going on. You had massive social unrest. You had the rise of communism, just like we see the rise of socialist populism in this country. So it's something that we got to be very careful. The backside of this may have long-term political consequences for this country.
Far be it from me to be the first one to throw this out there, but this is what I'm saying. We're playing with fire.
Absolutely.
We don't have unlimited amount of time. We got to get this thing fixed. I keep going back. When you go through hell, and we're going through hell, when you go through hell, you go through as fast and hard as possible. You've got to get to the other side of this, okay? We've got to get to the other side, and we're going to figure out the damage on the other side and rebuild this. I think the country can come back stronger, better, and tougher. Yes, sir.
Can we go to the clip of, we're talking about Ron DeSantis and Surgeon General Jerome Adams.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and play this. I want to go back to the issue of what we have to actually measures we got to put in place here.
My advice to America would be that these guidelines are a national stay-at-home order. They're guidelines that say that, look, the more we social distance, the more we stay at home, the less spread of disease there will be.
Governor, was it the Surgeon General's comments earlier today that shifted your thinking on a statewide stay-at-home order?
No, because I had decided on this, when the President Day extension, to me, that was people aren't just going to go back to work. That's a national pause button. I had concerns about how some of that would affect different communities in Florida who have not been hit the same way, and I don't anticipate getting hit the same way as places like Miami-Dade. But I wanted to see what their guidelines would actually say, and even the guidelines, they never actually said to do that. The Surgeon General, U.S. Surgeon General, never told me that that's what they were looking for. But I think that given that we're having a 30-day, I think that's a signal from the president that, look, this is what we're going to be fighting for a month.
Go ahead.
So, Doctor, look, Governor DeSantis is exactly right. The 30 days to stop the spread doesn't say anything in there about national shelter in place or a national stay at home. We obviously love the idea of a shelter in place or stay at home. Think that we should go even further than where President Trump is now and lock it down. In fact, we're probably, the way that things are trending, we'll probably have to do that through the month of May as well. If you're not prepared for that now, you need to be. But I don't
want to give up on May. That's the point. I don't. You only go to May. I don't want to talk about 60 days. You're right. The Surgeon General is a solid guy. He had what's called a Freudian slip. He basically said what he really feels, which is you need a 30-day shelter in place. He said it right there on the Today Show. Couldn't have been clearer. DeSantis said also, and he's been a guy that's been very recalcitrant to do this, I think, for the own reason, and I'm not criticizing him. He had his own logic of how to do it, right? He was trying to do certain sections like Miami-Dade, which, by the way, folks, one of the reasons it's a problem because the flights are still coming every day from New York. Jack Maxey's buddies, he lives down there. One of the swells living in Palm Beach, all those swells down there are calling us, telling us, hey, the planes are still coming down here and guys aren't getting checked, right? They're just getting off the plane and going. I'm a huge New York City fan. We do a show there. I've lived there. I love New York City. It's my city. I love it, okay? But you got guys flying around from the country, from New York City and Detroit and New Orleans. You're just spreading this thing. If you're going to lock it down, if you're going to take the time to do these kind of fits and starts all over the country, just do it and just lock it down. Let's go hard. I don't want to give up on May. I think you get into May, you start getting problems. We had Larry Lindsay on here the other day, who's not a dumb guy, who says, hey, the logistics system you start to blow a few gaskets when you get into the first couple of weeks of May, right? The trucking, the food distribution. You've already seen this with the guys that work at the food distribution centers, right? They're saying, hey, shouldn't we get a little Hey, shouldn't we get a little something for the effort? So all of that's going to start becoming more and more important every day. We're burning daylight. Every hour of every day matters. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this extraordinary effort to shut the country down. It's got to be maximum effort to get through this. Okay, hashtag War Room Pandemic. Haven't had a chance. I hope folks are blowing it up. We're going to hear your observations, who other guests should be, topics. If you don't like the way we're laying it out, tell us. We love all that. We love it. We just give us news clips, give us articles, give us everything. Hashtag War Room Pandemic. Also, at War Room 2020, at War Room Pandemic, and hashtag 30 Days to Save America. Admiral Ronnie Jackson next.